Myself having been trained as a computer scientist in the 90s, everybody knew AI didn't work. It's not like, people tried it, they tried neural nets, none of them worked out. And fast forward a few years, and now Brain probably touches every single one of our main projects, ranging, from search to photos to ads to everything we do.
And there are mental technologies, cognitive technologies that let us upgrade our brains so we can keep pace in an exponential world.
It's an incredible time.
The really important point is it's not stopping. 9 years from today, the average $1,000 laptop is going to have the same computing power as the human brain.
Now, it might seem weird to sort of connect technology and neuroscience. If we understand the algorithms of the brain, can we think about running that on hardware, other hardware that we have, silicon hardware? And this is a quiet revolution that's happening right now.
Can you imagine that in 10 years when we are sitting here, we have an implant in our brains?
The human brain was not designed to move at this speed and to think at this scale. It was designed in a very different time for a very different environment. But here too, there are upgrades available. And how to upgrade our brain is where I spend the bulk of my time.
And of course, this has caused a tectonic shift in the field. So there's been massive investment by industry into this field. Billions of dollars from the likes of Google and Apple and Baidu.
Biotechnology is a great example. Biotechnology is now accelerating so fast it is moving at 5 times the speed of Moore's law. It is doubling in power every 4 months.
This is going to be a sort of unusual epic journey that a brain is going to take. So we start not with humans, but with rats. And the final resting place of this animal's brain then at Harvard is this. This is a 2 petabyte storage array. So this is a bunch of hard drives. We're storing what's remains of this animal's brain in digital form there.
Now, Republican State Senator Becky Harris is worried they could someday end up in humans.
And we upload that animal's brain to the cloud. This idea of brain uploading is sort of captured a little bit of the sort of popular imagination. So, Time and Focus and the magazines have started to sort of latch onto this issue. What if we could upload our brain? Maybe that's a path to immortality.
The ACLU says there is no urgent need to protect humans, but they agree the technology would violate privacy rights and raise serious concerns.
State senators like Nathan Dahm question Real ID's intentions.
So does that mean that our personal information and biometric data can be shared indirectly with the federal government?
And this lets governments get away with a level of surveillance we might never allow otherwise. I don't think we would ever let the government demand that we carry tracking devices with us 24/7. Yet we happily put these things in our pockets every morning. We're seeing surveillance inhibiting dissent, inhibiting social change.
You will be digesting these computing devices. You will be inhaling them. They will be in everything and everyone. They will be pervasive. What does that hyper-connected world look like? You will be digesting these computing devices. You will be inhaling them. They will be in everything and everyone. They will be pervasive.
Thanks for watching our internet edition of Nightline. I'm Martin Bashir. Today we examine the Christian practice of speaking in tongues. Those outside the church often say it's nothing more than gibberish, but some Christians claim that it's the purest form of prayer, beyond the constraints of normal language.
There's a vast number of people out there that, because they did not personally experience it or have been taught against it all their lives, there's no way they have an ability to embrace it. So that's common. We're still mocked and made fun of.
Do you hear yourself?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I think I sound like a total idiot.
It's almost all in yellows and red here.
At the University of Pennsylvania, Dr. Andrew Newberg is looking for an explanation for what most regard as unexplainable.
I mean, it's not language. It's not regular language, at least, that would normally activate the frontal lobe.
Newberg is exploring the relationship between faith and science, studying what happens in the brain during the deepest moments of faith.
If we're really going to look at this very, very powerful force in human history of religion and spirituality, I think we really have to take a look at how that affects our brain, what's changing or turning on or turning off in our brain. They're going to go around very fast right now.
He's recently published a study of Americans speaking in tongues. Remarkably, he discovered that what's happening to them neurologically looks a lot like what they say is happening to them spiritually.
Make sure we got your whole head in there.
We asked Pastor Jerry Stoltzfus to come to the university to have his brain scanned while he speaks in tongues. This way, we could see the experiment in action.
I don't think faith is anything to be afraid of from science. Science validates faith, so bring it on. Whatever the facts are, bring it on.
Just go ahead and you can begin prayer.
First, he's told to pray in English.
Father, I pray for each of the family members involved in this study. Grant them what they are looking for in their personal lives, for their vision and their potential.
Then he's told to speak in tongues.
This is the first scan when he was in prayer, speaking in English. This is the second scan when he is praying in tongues.
Pastor Stoltzfus' scan showed that his frontal lobe, the part of the brain that controls language, was active when he prayed in English, but for the most part it fell quiet when he prayed in tongues.
When they're actually engaged in this whole very intense spiritual practice, religious practice for them, their frontal lobes tend to go down in activity, but I think it's very consistent with the kind of experience that they have, because they say that they're not in charge. It's the voice of God, it's the Spirit of God that's moving through them.
Dr. Newberg says the results were even more dramatic on subjects who were scanned without a Nightline crew in the room and who were not speaking in tongues on demand, as Jerry Stoltzfus had done. In earlier studies, Dr. Newberg looked at what happens in the brains of Buddhist monks meditating and Franciscan nuns praying. And it was noticeably different from what happens to tongue speakers.
That's in fairly stark contrast to the people who are like the Buddhists and the Franciscan nuns who are in prayer, because they are very intensely focused, and in those individuals the frontal lobes actually increased activity.
But Dr. Newberg isn't out to prove or disprove anything. He can tell you what happens in the brain, not why. Were you skeptical going into the studies?
If by skeptical the question is this a real phenomena, meaning that this is truly the voice of God speaking through them, that's a much more problematic question, I think, and something that I'm not sure that we've specifically answered simply by doing our study.
But for those who believe, it doesn't matter if science can find the footprints of the Holy Spirit in their 21st century brain scans.
When you've experienced this, you don't really care what anybody else thinks. It's personal in the first place. It is something between you and God. So we don't really care if it's validated or not, but it's fascinating when it is, so that people that have thought we're crazy can have something to look at to say, maybe we're still crazy, we're just not as crazy as they thought.